happens when they give us pictures? And what do we do with those? Okay, so those are, again, the three ideas that we're looking at between 2.7 and 2.8, okay? So on this one, similar figures. When I look at these two guys right here, okay, a similar figure has the same shape, okay, so same shape. So triangle, triangle, square, rectangle, whatever, it's the same shape, but one is either smaller or bigger. Okay, so we've either enlarged it or reduced it. Okay? Alright, so at the top there, similar figures, the same shape but different sizes. Same shape but different sizes. Okay? Alright, so we're looking at this. First thing it asks us to do is find the length of DE. Okay? So on DE, I'm just going to put X for variable, just so we know where it's at. So I'm going to go ahead and label it. Okay, so DE is right here. So I'm going to label that X. Okay? So now you're going to find a relationship, just like we did. Okay? So if I'm looking here, what does 16 match up with?
12.
12. Okay, so there's a fraction. Does it matter if the 16 or 12 goes on top and bottom? No, doesn't matter. Okay? So we're just going to start here. So 16 matches up with 12. Okay, so I'm going to put 16 over 12 equals, remember we talked about, you have to have an equal sign. Have to have an equal sign. Equals, now how will I find the X? What's going to match up with the X here? Okay, the 10. Now what needs to go on top? The 10, right? If we do here, if we start with the big guy on top, big, little, then we have to, on the next one, do big, little. Okay? Again, if you need to label big and little, whatever, do that. Big, little, big, little. Put labels on there. Big triangle, little triangle. Okay? So here, big guy to little guy. So I'm going to go big guy, 10, to little guy, X. So 10 over X. Okay? And so now we're going to cross multiply. So I'm going to take 16 times X, and what do we get there? 16X equals, and then take 12 times 10 and get 120. Okay, so now what are we going to do to solve it? Divide by 16. And we end up with 7.5 is X. Okay. All right, so back up here, if I really wanted to put in the measure, I could put in 7.5 right here. Okay, so that's what that's talking about. Okay, does anybody have a question on that first one? Okay, so then let's try it again. Let's go to the second one. All right, so now what length are we finding on this guy?
AC.
AC, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to change colors up here, and I'm going to call it a Y, just so we don't get things confused. Okay? All right, so who wants to write the first part of a fraction? Give me my first fraction here. Here?
Y over 18.
Okay, that looks good. Y over 18. So the Y and the 18 are both the bases. They both match up. So Y over 18 looks good. Equals what? What can we put for the second part of our fraction here, our proportion here? Just give me something that matches. What matches? Y over 18 equals what?
So we do 7.5
16 over 12, right? I mean, base, base, side, side, right? Okay, so 16 over 12 would work. So you're just reusing the same problem. Now, I suggested something about could we use the 10 and the 7.5? Yeah, you couldn't go wrong. All you had to do was pick one and match it up, all right? So 10 over 7.5 would have worked here, or 16 over 12. The only thing I will caution you to about is using that 7.5 is what happens if you messed it up. So back here on the first problem, if you, let's say you divided wrong or something happened here, and then you turn around and use that here, you're not going to get it right. So you're going to miss it here and here. Does that make sense? Okay? So if you can use something that they've already provided, I would do that. That way, in case you've messed up on the first one somehow, you don't use it for the second one to mess that one up too. Okay?
So
all right.
16 over 12 comes from the first problem.
Well, I mean, it's just matching sides. So Y, 18, we need two more numbers, so 16 and 12. You're just matching and matching.
So we could use 10 and 12.
Yes, we just talked about speeding. Yeah. Okay, anybody else? Okay, I'm not feeling real confident you guys know what's going on, I'm not gonna lie. You guys seem a little lost. Okay, let's go ahead and cross multiply. So 12 times y, 12y. All right, and what do we get when we take 18 times 16?
288.
288. All right, then what are we going to do next? Divide by 12. Good. And y equals? 4. Okay. All right, anybody have a question on that? Okay, so let's do it again now. Let's look at another picture and try it again. Okay, the sun rays strike the building and the girl at the same angle, forming two similar triangles. Okay, how tall is the building? So you can see here you've got 3, 5, and then we have 15, and they have the x in there in the building. Okay? All right, who wants to try to write a proportion here?
So the x and the 5,
Yeah, x and 5 would match up.
and then the 3 and the 15.
Okay, but you've got to be careful what goes on top and bottom. So just start your proportion off. How do you want to start it off?
You would do the x up top, and then the 3, and then you would want to do,
You want to put a 3 down here?
yeah.
Okay. Height, shadow, are those the same thing?
Oh, I mean the 5.
Okay, so if we do x and 5, I like that. That would be good. Okay. So x and 5 equals what?
The 15 and
15 and 3. Good. Okay. Now, if you wrote a different proportion, there's a lot of different proportions here. As long as you're taking 5 times 15, you're good. Okay, so just keep in mind, there's going to be like 4 or 5 different ways to write this. There's lots and lots and lots of ways to write it. It doesn't mean you're wrong, it just means you did something different. Okay, so now kind of think about what we talked about in the video, line things up, right? So here's the height of the people. So if I look here, height and height, which is okay, that works, okay? And then if we look here, we've got shadow and shadow, shadow and shadow. Now we've been lining things up across, but it also works if you line them up and down. Okay, so this would work as well, okay? So cross multiply, we get 3 times x is 3x. 15 times 5 is what?
25.
What'd you say? Oh yeah, 75, okay? Then we're gonna do what? Divide by 3, so x equals 25, very good. So the height of my building is 25 feet. Okay, all right, how are we doing? Does anybody have a question about anything so far?
I kind of get it.
Huh?
I kind of get it.
Okay, all right. We'll come back to scale drawings if we have time, but we're on a bit of a time crunch right now, so I just want you to drop down and let's look at the next example. Okay? In example 3, use a ruler to measure the distance from Jacksonville to Orlando on the map below. Okay, A, what is the actual distance from Jacksonville to Orlando? Okay, now when we're saying actual distance, we're talking about in miles. Okay? So, when they give you something like this, they have to give you a scale so you know what the heck a measurement means. Okay? So in this particular problem, anytime you've got a map, start looking around for some numbers somewhere. There's got to be a number somewhere to help you out. Okay? So it says 1 inch is 110 miles. So reminder, it doesn't matter if we write it out side by side or if we write it out as 1 over 110. These are the same thing. I can write it, I know you can't tell that real well, but that's a colon in there. So you can write it side by side with a colon, or you can write it as a fraction. These mean the same thing. Okay? And then the third way you could write it would be 1 to 110. So you can actually write it. You'll see that like in writings, newspapers, things like that. Okay? So those are the 3 ways to write a ratio. Okay? So again, I don't care if they put a colon in between. You're just going to write it as a fraction. So you know 1 inch to 110 miles. And again, if you need to put a label on there so you keep things lined up, then do that. Okay? Equals, okay, let's look at our ruler. Okay, so on our ruler here, we've got 1 inch, but we got to go down to Orlando. What's that measurement look like to you?
Try 1.5.
1.5? Well, if I look here, here's a half.
Oh, maybe.